A Boy from the Mountains, the story of Alvin York, begins in the quiet hills of Pall Mall, Tennessee. Born in 1887, York was the third of 11 children in a poor farming family. His world was one of hard labor, long days in the fields, and the constant struggle to survive. Life in the Cumberland Mountains was simple but harsh. Education was short, and by the time he was a teenager, Alvin's days were spent hunting game to put food on the family table. From those hunts, he gained not only survival skills but an uncanny gift. He could shoot a rifle with precision few men could rival. But York's early years were not those of a saint. He drank heavily, gambled, and was known for fighting in rough mountain taverns. His wild temper made him a dangerous man, and more than once he found himself close to ruin. That life changed in 1915, when tragedy struck. His best friend was killed in a drunken brawl. Shaken, York turned toward faith. He joined a small Christian congregation, gave up drinking and fighting, and devoted himself to God. His new beliefs led him to embrace pacifism. He swore he would never again take a life. It was a vow that would haunt him when the world fell into war. A reluctant soldier, when America entered World War I in 1917, York was drafted into the army. For a man who now believed in peace, the call to war was a torment. He filed as a conscientious objector, but his request was denied. At training camp, he wrestled with his conscience. Could a Christian take up arms? Could killing ever be justified? His commanders noticed his inner struggle. One even sat down with York, opening the Bible and pointing to verses that spoke of duty, justice, and defending the innocent. After weeks of prayer and reflection, York found his answer. He believed God had not forbidden him to fight, but had instead called him to protect others. With that conviction, he accepted his duty. Though quiet and humble, York stood out quickly. His skill with a rifle was unmatched. He could hit a target with deadly precision, just as he had done hunting squirrels in the Tennessee woods. His officers knew he was special, but even they could not imagine what he would do when destiny called. The Meuse-Argonne Offensive. It was October 1918. The Great War was entering its final bloody months. In France, the Meuse-Argonne Offensive was underway, the largest operation the U.S. Army had ever attempted. The fighting was brutal, with American forces trying to push back entrenched German lines. On the morning of October 8, 1918, Alvin York's unit, part of the 82nd Division, received orders to take out a nest of German machine guns that had pinned down American troops. The mission was desperate. The machine guns had already slaughtered countless men. York and his squad moved through the fog and forests, flanking the enemy. They stumbled upon a group of German soldiers and managed to capture them. But before they could celebrate, the ridge above erupted with gunfire. Machine guns raked the ground, cutting down York's comrades. When the chaos cleared, York found himself with just a handful of men. Surrounded, outnumbered, and under fire, it seemed hopeless. But Alvin York refused to die there. The farmer who captured an army York ordered his few surviving men to guard the prisoners while he moved forward, alone. Crawling through the brush, he began picking off the German gunners one by one. His hunting instincts took over. Each shot was deliberate, calm, deadly. A German officer charged him with a bayonet. York drew his pistol and dropped him instantly. More came, and each fell in turn. The Germans couldn't understand it, one man moving with the patience of a hunter, striking with absolute precision. As he advanced, the surviving Germans began to falter. Panic spread through the ranks. York shouted at them to surrender. Facing death with every movement, dozens dropped their weapons and raised their hands. By the end of that day, Alvin York had killed at least 25 enemy soldiers and forced the surrender of 132 Germans, nearly an entire battalion, all but alone. It was an act so extraordinary that even his fellow soldiers could hardly believe it. One farmer from Tennessee, with a rifle and faith in God, had broken the back of a machine gun nest that had seemed invincible. A reluctant hero, when news of York's actions spread, he was hailed as a hero. He received the Medal of Honor, France's Croix de Guerre, and numerous other awards. The press wrote stories about the mountain man who captured an army. But York himself was uncomfortable with fame. He never saw himself as greater than the men who fought beside him. "I only did my duty," he said. "The real heroes are the ones who didn't come back." After the war, he returned home to Tennessee. Parades greeted him, politicians wanted to exploit him, and Hollywood tried to buy his story. But York remained the same humble farmer. He used his fame not for wealth, but for others. He raised money to build schools in the Tennessee mountains. He advocated for education, for veterans, for the poor. His faith never wavered, and he lived the rest of his life as quietly as he had begun it, a man who carried the weight of war, but never let it consume him. Legacy of a legend. Alvin York died in 1964, but his name remains etched into the history of World War I. To this day, his feat at the Meuse Argonne is studied as one of the most incredible acts of courage in modern warfare. York was not a born warrior. He was not seeking glory. He was a farmer, a hunter, a man of faith who struggled with violence, but chose to fight when duty called. And in the forests of France, he did what few could ever imagine. He captured an army.